What's going on, everybody? This is Podcast Elrond. We are joined with CEO as well as the CSO and founder of Utrust, Sanja Kon and Nuno Correia. And then, of course, we have Alec, the OG Magical, joining us. How's everybody doing today? And welcome to the show.
Doing fantastic, Steven.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So this interview meeting has been kind of a long time coming. It was a couple months now that we reached out, connected on Twitter. So Sanja and Nuno, thank you so much for being here. It's really great to have you on the show finally.
Yeah, thanks for being able to make it.
Thanks,
It's
guys.
great to be here with you guys. Thank you for the invite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so straight out of the gate, in addition to the UTK giveaway that we were doing on Twitter, Sanja and Nuno have put up another 10,000 UTK that we'll be giving in association with this video. So stay tuned in to see how to participate in that giveaway. Thank you, Utrust, for that offering. Very grateful.
Our pleasure. Create some engagement. Let's do it.
Cool. So just for starters, Sanja and Nuno, share with us your position within Utrust. We'll get more into the history of Utrust, but for now, just some introductions would be great.
You may start, Sanja, if you want to.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Sanja, CEO at Utrust. Joined forces with Nuno in 2018. So in my role as CEO, sometimes people think like a CEO role is very glamorous and you just do like operations in podcasts and events. But I think, in a startup and now growing startup, it's basically about doing a bit of everything, a bit of marketing, a bit of sales, a bit of HR. So it's very difficult for me to say, what are exactly my duties, because every day I wake up and there's a new challenge to do at Utrust. But it's great to be here, and I'm very privileged to be able to be in this position.
Awesome. I'm like the right arm of Sanja. I do a little bit of everything. Compliance, marketing, sales, tech. I'm pretty much involved in everything. And I like to see myself as the strategist of Utrust. Try to identify market condition and trends. Where are things going? And how obviously to position payments in the best way possible to attract more businesses and users to adopt on-chain payments. That's basically it. A little bit of everything. I'm involved in.
Awesome.
Nuno, so you actually are one of the co-founders of Utrust. Can you give us a little bit of a background why you decided to create Utrust in the first place? What kind of holes you saw that Utrust was being created to fill, and why eventually did you bring Sanja onto the team to help grow Utrust to what you're hoping it's going to be in the future?
Okay, cool. I mean, that's I will try to be as short as possible on this. It all started in 2016. I made a payment with Bitcoin via BitPay. In 2016, they were probably the ones that served more merchants when it comes to Bitcoin payments. Got burned, got really upset because the merchant vanished. They didn't have any buyer protection. And when I contacted the customer support, they say that basically that merchants was not working with them anymore. So I lost a quite significant amount of Bitcoins at that time. And I decided that somebody should do a payment gateway, a crypto payment gateway that would be more efficient and somehow would protect the payers, because the payments are done on chain. Obviously, they are irreversible, but some sort of a protection / escrow system should be there. And then obviously it became kind of an obsession for me. In the beginning, it was only going to be a Bitcoin payment gateway. It was not supposed to be a multi-chain payment system, but things obviously evolved from there. Curiously, Utrust is in line with the vision of Satoshi Nakamoto. If you look at the second paragraph of Bitcoin Whitepaper, you will read the definition of Utrust since the very beginning. He explains that there needs to be some sort of an escrow system to protect buyers from fraudulent merchants. It's not necessarily that we withhold funds from merchants. We don't do it, but we have a very smart way of screening merchants in order also to protect the buyers, because ultimately you are paying on chain. It's a very tricky situation to be in as a buyer. But if the flow can be done in a way that prevents fraud from merchants, it's exactly what Satoshi Nakamoto wanted to deliver, and we delivered that. Obviously, during the way we decided to become a multi-chain payment system and did an ICO in 2017. It allowed us to raise capital to create Utrust. In the beginning, it was a bit difficult because the expenses were super high, a very competitive, crowded market, and we had to go in that route, thankfully. By no means I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I believe that technology needs to evolve. There are a lot of different blockchains serving different purposes, and I think we need to embrace all of them and see where this goes, and not necessarily being a maximalist of this and that. Regarding Sanja, it's a curious story, because Sanja was at eBay at the time, was the head of partnerships of eBay Europe at the time. And she contacted me and I was like super excited. Wow, yeah, eBay contacting us, super cool. We're gonna serve eBay, yada, yada. But it happened out that then Sanja moved to PayPal, and I convinced her to join the on-chain payments dream, and to move out of PayPal. Yeah, that's long story short. Grinding since then. Obviously, we have several products that we have released. We are very proud of the technology we have built, our community, and proud to fight for something that should be a right for everybody. Fair payments. We don't think that the payments as they are today are fair. It's a monopoly of greedy corporations that try to suck every single penny from businesses and users for their own benefit. We still need to be profitable, obviously, but we want to do it in a way that benefits everybody, both the merchants, the buyers, and us. And that's definitely not something happening with PayPal now, as you can see. I mean, they live out of the businesses and users, sucking them dry. We want to actually be the opposite of that. We are already the opposite of that, but obviously everything needs to evolve until everybody pays with crypto and all of that. It's a normal process of evolution. But as I discussed with Sanja, and just to finish, to wrap it up, we think that payments should be as cheap, fast, and easy as sending a message on Telegram or on WhatsApp. We live in an internet era. Payments are information, basically. They need to flow as efficiently as a message flows when I send a message to Sanja on Telegram, for example. And that's pretty much it. That's our mission.
I can add on that story, because then if you want, you can cut like the parts that you want. But I think I'm very spiritual, and I think, the story of how Nuno and I came to work together, I think it was like a sign of the universe. Because at the time, in 2017, I was at eBay. I always worked in e-commerce and telco, but I always had this thing about payments and going into payments. Because, in my story, my family escaped war during ex-Yugoslavia, and like many people were left without bank accounts, without money from one day to another. So I was always fascinated about the idea of financial inclusion and creating a model that brings more financial inclusion in the world. And that's why, although I was in contact with Nuno, I went and worked for PayPal. And PayPal always had this mission statement about we are creating financial inclusion. But unfortunately, soon I realized that was not exactly the case. So at the time, I was leading the payments for marketplaces for all the marketplace players. And there was no transparency whatsoever in the costs for our customers. If there was, like the costs were really high, cross-border payments were impossible. So I was like, what am I doing here? That point where you're somewhere and you're like, okay, I'm out of place. Like, what am I doing? And that's the moment where, I decided to join forces with Nuno. But I think it was really, a sign of the universe how we met, because I was randomly searching for crypto payments online. And I found the white paper that Nuno wrote at the time and decided to contact him. So it was purely casual, let's say. And yeah, very glad of where we are today.
Oh yeah, I was curious, Sanja. It's good to hear, how you were just searching through random papers. What, if anything, really stood out to you about what you found from what Nuno had written within his white paper?
I think there were a few elements, that really made me impressed with Utrust. The first one was researching the team behind it. And I think, while reading the white paper and also seeing the website, because a website was present at the time, there was no MVP, but there was a website. Like I could see the professionalism, I could see the passion that in other projects I didn't see. And I think, at the time, many projects were about pump and dump and, selling an idea without solid fundamentals. But I think, the clicking point for me was when speaking with Nuno and like hearing his story and hearing that he actually wanted to create something because he had a pain that he wanted to solve. And that, coincided with some of the pains that I really saw in the traditional payments industry. So I think it was about the passion, the professionalism, really the idea of giving back to the community and like not doing something just for the money, and really the strong team behind it with, a strong idea of something that solves a real problem.
That's awesome. Nuno, I'm a little bit curious. I mean, I've listened to lots of interviews from each of you and Utrust together, and I think that was actually the very first time that I heard from Nuno that you just kind of got your start in the crypto in 2016. You made a bad payment, you got burned, which I enjoyed hearing because as I've come to learn about Utrust and as we'll hear today, Utrust is focused on serving their clients, their customers, whether you're a merchant or whether you're a user. So I think that's really important to emphasize that Nuno and obviously Sanja, you were in crypto as early as 2017. Everybody who was around the crypto space at that time kind of understands the atmosphere, as you say, Sanja, the pump and dumps and so forth. It was like everybody had these really big, grandiose ideas, but truly the tech was not quite there yet. And I remember hearing from you, Sanja, at some point that whenever you were at PayPal trying to look into adopting or rather injecting crypto payments into a solution like PayPal, you just said that it was maybe a little bit too soon. So yeah, with that being said, what could each of you share very quickly about what it felt like back in 2017 for those who are maybe new to the crypto space? And the reason I ask is really just to spotlight the significance that Utrust has been here through this bear market, through the 2017, 2018, 19 bear market, and here we are 2022, and Utrust, I dare say, is stronger than ever. So that's a wide open question, but yeah, I would love to have a picture painted of where everything was in 2017, and yeah, just we'll leave it at that for now.
That's a great question, and I can guarantee you it was a very, very, still is painful path. But at the same time, it's the best and most fun path you can get. Easy things are usually not that interesting, and they do not disrupt anything. They do not change anything. Difficult things are the ones that end up changing everything around you. And obviously, during all of these years, we just keep pushing. Curiously, I saw a statistic that only 0.03% of projects that raised money in 2017 actually delivered a working product. So this gives you an idea that only like 1 in 1,000 actually delivered anything. And obviously, we are very proud to be among that little number of projects that delivered, have businesses and users using it, solves actual problems. Utrust is an actual crypto native project. We process the payments on chain, like the vision of Satoshi. We are wallet agnostic. You can use any wallet in the world. It's not like PayPal that you have to use their wallet, or like Visa that you have to use their card or wherever. You own your private keys. It's your money. You can be anywhere in the world, and you can pay for goods and services. You can have your life without actually relying on a centralized entity that controls your money. It's your money. Nobody should control it. If a bank goes bankrupt, you will lose your money, then scams, this and that. It should be your keys, your money. That's the vision of Utrust. Sometimes I think that we are not focused only in the merchants. We are actually focused on who is paying, because we are opening the doors for them to do anything they want to do in their life, by owning their own money without relying in centralized infrastructures. Obviously, this lowers the costs, increases efficiency, and yada yada. But I think that this vision all the time of creating something much better than what exists today is what kept us pushing in the shittiest market that you can imagine. It was really a tough bear market for everybody. A lot of people were depressed. People sometimes were not taking crypto payments seriously as they are today. Oh, crypto is a scam, this and that. We had to deal with all of that stuff, convincing traditional players to use Utrust, embrace crypto payments is better for you, for the user, for everybody. It was a very, very tough path, but it was the best thing that I believe at least happened to me. I learned so much during the process, and obviously working with people like Sanja, it's an amazing experience. You not only become good friends, but you learn the way they work. It's better than sometimes going to the university. You absorb all of this knowledge, and that's basically it. I mean, what kept us pushing was this vision of making things better for everybody, and obviously achieving, as I always say, the vision of Satoshi Nakamoto, because everybody creates this and that, but at the end of the day, if payments are not widely adopted, it's going to be very tricky for other things to be widely adopted. We need to start somewhere, and the most logical solution and use case that fixes the current problems that we see now with traditional payments are indeed crypto payments. But it obviously takes time, right? People didn't start using Uber from one day to another. It's a process. It takes a lot of years, we know it, but we are here, and obviously we'll continue pushing, right, Sanja?
Yeah, I think, if I think about your question from a leadership perspective, so bear market and, difficult times in general, I think are when true leaders are born, or shown in an organization. And those are the perfect times to, focus and not get distracted with, let's say, unnecessary things. And also, you said Uber before, but like if you look at history, you will see a pattern of many successful companies, like Uber being one of them, Alibaba, Netflix, Airbnb, and so forth, that were really born in times of adversity and difficulty. And this is because these companies and these leaders were able to transform adversity into an opportunity. And that's exactly what we did in the times with bear markets and in COVID as well. So when everyone was really freaking out and focusing on mainstream media and what was happening, we really were focusing on building something solid and not getting distracted with noise. But I think, there's a fundamental difference between, 2017, 18 and what is happening now. And obviously it was much more difficult then because of what Nuno said, because of, what the perception of crypto was. And obviously our main customers are merchants. So imagine talking to traditional merchants in 2017, 18 about adopting a crypto payment solution. So even with the possibility of them settling in fiat and their own local currency, that was, a very difficult mission. While now, we have traditional merchants knocking on our doors and asking to integrate us. And not only that, I think there's also a shift in perception about crypto. So we were born, obviously, as Nuno said, as a crypto to fiat payment gateway. However, today, many of our customers want to settle in crypto, want to use
crypto end-to-end.
And also, I think one fundamental shift that I'm seeing more and more is at the beginning, the kind of like crypto user that was using the platform. Like as founders and like directors of the company, we like to think like, oh, everyone will use our product when we launch to market. But then, you know, if you really looked at the beginning, who was using the platform, those were really, you know, crypto savvy, like crypto enthusiasts, people that like made a lot of profit, and now they wanted to buy a Rolex, they wanted to buy a car, they wanted to buy real estate. While I think now, of course, you know, you still have that segment of people, and that's great, but there are real use cases. There are Web3 companies, you know, using crypto to pay their employees, companies paying other companies, crypto being used
People
for
that suffer of inflation, day-to-day stuff. It's good.
exactly. So it's totally different. Like even though we are, let's say, in another bear market, I think it's a totally different situation for crypto now. Adoption is much higher and confidence is much higher.
That's
Totally.
excellent. I especially like what you said, Sanja, transform adversity into opportunity. I remember 2020 when much of the lockdowns were just beginning from COVID. I was on the phone with my parents, and the strategy, as I kind of just like spoke with him, was we aren't going to participate in any recession that may or may not come. We're going to turn up the momentum. We're just simply not going to participate, and that starts from a mental perspective. So I think that's really great to hear. Transform adversity into opportunity. I love that.
I think an important thing that you also mentioned, Sanja, is the fact that crypto is different currently. Back in 2017, no one would ever think that you would have Aaron Rodgers signed up with Cash App to be accepting Bitcoin payments instead of taking a US dollar for being a sponsor for Cash App. And like things have definitely changed. We have celebrity influencers talking about crypto now. You see crypto in the news 24/7. So it's definitely a new world for Utrust to be existing in. So you mentioned that not everyone who's going to be getting into Utrust is going to be that tech savvy person that you might have saw back in 2017. We're seeing more consumers come in, or a consumer-based market being developed. So how is Utrust positioning itself to not only serve those merchants the best that it can, but also make it easy for the people who aren't that savvy to get into this crypto payment system?
Yeah, so I think now is the perfect time to do so, because if you think about crypto, we've been here for a long time. So we like to think a lot of people are in crypto, a lot of people are using crypto, but like less than 1% of the world population, you know, has crypto and or is holding on Bitcoin. So I think it's still a very niche, let's say, vertical. And it's our job, like ours and everyone in this industry, to educate the next wave of people who are going to come into crypto. And I think now is the perfect moment to do so. And I actually think what happened with crypto lately, let's say it's good for the industry long term. It's not now, but long term is definitely great, because it wiped out, you know, all the projects that did not have the right fundamentals, did not have the right team, did not have the right resources to be sustainable projects in the long term. So I think, you know, our focus now is really how do we bring the next wave of the 1 billion people that we want to onboard to use crypto. And I think people will do so when they perceive there is a real necessity and there is a better alternative in Web3 towards what they have in Web2. And I think that's kind of happening now, because traditionally people would say like crypto is something for someone living in Turkey, like with an inflationary currency, or in countries with an unstable government. But, you know, look at what happened in Canada, for example, last year when banks froze bank accounts without warning. look at what PayPal announced and then retracted about being able to just, takes people money away. So I think, people are starting to see like, okay, there is a better alternative, and that's in Web3 because I am the owner of my money. But I think the main challenge for companies is, and what we're focusing a lot on now together with Elrond, is really, you still need to build products and services that somehow will resemble a Web2-like experience, because otherwise people will not come. And that's why we built our product in a way that anyone can integrate it, even if they don't have blockchain experience, because otherwise you create like a huge barrier to entry. So I think, long story short, it's all about education. It's all about, providing to people a better alternative, solving a problem with like a clear UX UI that will resemble a Web2 like experience, because we are still at the beginning. So the future, of course, will look differently. But right now, like the on-ramp to crypto needs to be very, very simple.
No, totally agree. And to add to what Sanja is saying, we are releasing the new widget, the new dashboard. We are working on all of that to further improve the user experience when it comes to obviously businesses and payers. We're gonna take it to the next level on the next product releases. It's not that Utrust is not great now, but it can be even better. So we really focused on interviewing hundreds of merchants, thousands of users to gather feedback to understand how could the flow even further be improved. Sometimes a small detail can cost a user 30 seconds to 1 minute searching, deciding what to do, or confused. So we really polished everything to a level that we think that it's already so simple, but it's gonna be even more. And if you compare with traditional payment gateways that you have to grab your wallet, then input your card numbers, then receive an SMS or whatever, a code to double authenticate your payment, then probably it's not going to go through because some issue with the payment provider or wherever. Then you see you paid in a different currency, 5% fee. Then the business is paying a fortune. Probably it pays more to PayPal than actually to the tax authority of the own country over profits. And it's just crazy. If you can remove all of that, and people around the world can use their own money to pay for goods and services directly to merchants at super high efficiency and super low cost, you solve a huge bottleneck. Even more now, because we are talking that global payments are now mainstream, right? I buy stuff from the US, I buy stuff from another country with another currency. The global trade is insane. We really live in a world where payments are sent to different countries in different currencies and received in different countries and in different currencies. So it's like a spider web. In this case, traditional payments rely on a old rotten spider web that's super expensive, slow, and not at all what it should be. As I mentioned, paying should be as easy as sending a WhatsApp message to your loved one or whatever, I mean, and they are not. And we are talking about information. Payments are information on the internet. Why do I have to pay sometimes 10% to pay somebody with my own money? Insane. And then that person pays another fee, money gets locked. He will only get the money after I don't know how many days because it's the weekend. It's just stupid. Okay, it will change, obviously. And that's our mission, obviously, here.
Both of you, or Nuno, you mentioned about Utrust wanting to be better, and Sanja, you mentioned the move to the Elrond ecosystem. Was that move a part of Utrust trying to become a better provider, or just making that move towards being better?
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead?
Oh, go ahead, Sanja. I will add afterwards. I will add after you.
Yeah, we're both passionate about this. But I think, the best opportunities come when you're not let's say, actively looking for them, but you're open to them. So at the time, we were not looking to get acquired. We were looking for ways to double down on our growth. We actually had everything prepared for our Series A. However, we were anticipating, let's say, some obstacles in the way in the future with the bear market and everything that was coming. So as you know, with my encounter with Nuno, I think our story with Elrond was very similar. So we were discussing, to integrate the chain, and then the opportunity to join forces came very, very organically. But growth is the reason, why we joined forces with Elrond, because we could have either continued on our path on our own. Elrond could have built their own payment platform, taking more time and effort, or we could have done what we did in joining forces together. And there's something that Benjamin shared when we announced our acquisition that will always stick to my mind, because it really clearly represents how we want to grow together. And he said at the time, I think there's an interview, he said there are two ways on how you can achieve growth. One is like zero sum, and the other one is non-zero sum. So on one way, you focus on just taking away from other people and other businesses, and the other one is focusing on growing the pie to the largest extent possible together.
Competition versus collaboration.
Exactly. And that's what we did. Like, we decided to partner together instead of competing with each other, and providing a superior solution to our customers, to buyers and sellers.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Elrond was their goal was to build an on-chain payment gateway as well. So either we would compete, that would happen naturally, or we would go towards this path. And I think it was an amazing decision for all of us. It makes sense if you look also to Twistpay. Everything is being put together to build like a monster, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be the path would be completely different. And I would say with confidence it would have been much slower, and perhaps even painful. So I think this was a great decision. It made sense because they were like obsessed by payments. We are obsessed by payments. Are we gonna compete? Teams are friends. We respect each other. Talented people. Let's do it together. I think Stefan crashed.
Hey everybody, we're back. Sorry for the internet connectivity issues. Thank you so much, Nuno. That was a great response addressing what role Elrond is playing in the story of Utrust, and how this acquisition and partnership has really been paid to increase the reach of both Elrond and Utrust, which is really how I've kind of grown to see this acquisition partnership, whatever you want to call it, the symbiosis is Utrust and Elrond were working diligently for years, eventually found themselves, being neighbors in the same neighborhood, and kind of, looking over and saying, hey neighbor, and it's just like, hey, like, I'll open my door, you can come on in and check out what we have. And Utrust did the same thing, because you might get to the nitty gritty and say Elrond needs Utrust, Utrust needs Elrond, but at the same time, like, it's just like straight 50-50 to me, with regard to what is Utrust doing for Elrond and what is Elrond doing for Utrust. So I was really excited to see that acquisition, but of course, as we've come to learn more about Utrust and getting to know, the heart behind Utrust through Nuno and Sanja, it's been really insightful and encouraging, and I'm super excited for more things that are to come. So Utrust is purported to be the payment solution for the money of tomorrow, Web3 payment ecosystem, Web3 meaning blockchain native. So while it's a lot of fun to talk about gains and hype and tokens, I want to step away just for a moment before really getting into UTK 2.0. And I would love to hear from each of you two. Please tell the viewers, and remind us that Utrust is a business serving customers, and that takes a lot of man and woman power to maintain that and create those those well-forged relationships. So stepping away kind of from crypto-centric, what and who and how does Utrust serve their clients, customers, and merchants? And also feel free to give us insight to data in terms of the total transacted volume as well as number of merchants that Utrust currently manages.
My
Yeah.
daughter from school. I'm just giving her a kid.
Ciao.
You can go ahead, Sanja. I'll join in 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure. So we were chatting before about, what were the differences between 2017 and now. And I always like to remind people like where we started. And our first merchant was Benfica, which is, the football club in Portugal. And we really thought in 2019 that, by announcing Benfica, everyone would follow, because why not? People need crypto payments, but that hasn't been the case at the beginning. And we had to pivot as well a few times as well. So we were born as a payment gateway, which still is, one of the core solutions that we offer. So that's for e-commerce merchants that have an e-commerce store and want to download, a plugin with Utrust or through custom APIs. But we, with time, we realized that people also needed other things, and mostly to invoice and, send payments to anyone, anywhere with, an email or WhatsApp, or sending payments to your suppliers and customers. And that's when, we launched the invoicing solution. And then we saw that there was a real interest in real estate, and people were buying a lot of real estate. So we launched, an OTC platform to have a white glove service for customers. So I think, our product and solution evolved a lot during time as well. And today we serve more than 20,000 customers across the globe. And, to me, that's remarkable, when just a few years ago, we just, started with one customer, and then we were in closed beta with, customers and like collecting what they needed. And yeah, because you mentioned volume. So last year we surpassed 100 million in total transacted volumes on the platform. Never to forget that still in 2020, we were at the beginning of the year in 2020, we were still in closed beta with selected customers. And then in May 2020 was the year when we rolled out the solution to everyone, meaning that everyone could self-onboard and, come to the platform and use it. So, considering all of that, it's a remarkable achievement. And now with Elrond, we can double down on that with more people, with more resources, being able to go in more countries, in more verticals. So that's why, our partnership is also very exciting, because it allows us to grow faster.
Indeed. And just to add to that, I mean, 100 million for crypto people, it sounds like, oh yeah, but this exchange does 1 billion or whatever a week. It's not like that. We are talking about 100 million in the traditional market, in the real economy. Okay, yeah. It's very big, even for traditional payment gateways, and it's definitely something that cannot be taken lightly. And obviously our growth. Sanja was also mentioning our invoicing product. It's actually a product that I love. PayPal also has an invoicing solution. Obviously, the drill with PayPal, the costs, the timing, the everything. Ours is super straightforward. So basically, you can invoice people within 30 seconds.
Maybe she can comment on Utrust as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you set her up with a hero tag yet?
Not yet. I will. Let's pick up where as Sanja said, we did 100 million last year. Obviously, this is 100 million in the traditional, in the real economy, in real life. It's not in obviously in the speculative market. We are very proud of it. Also, Sanja mentioned our invoicing solution. It's part of the entire payment gateway. On your dashboard, you can invoice people in a very efficient way. Name, email, yada yada. They get a link to make the payment with whatever cryptocurrency they want to make the payment with, or through Telegram and WhatsApp, you can copy the link, send to the person, and then, we are very proud of it.
Yeah. That's really great. And in another interview, y'all talk about that payments need to be rethought about in terms of a way to connect buyers and sellers. And I think that thank you for those answers, because I think it's especially easy in the world of crypto and in the world of we go to twitter.com to learn about the progress of these companies. I think that that's one fast way to set expectations that might be a little bit too high. And I think it's really important to remember that Utrust is a business that is first serving its customers, and that takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus. So I like that Utrust is trying to get us to rethink about that. Payments are just a way to connect buyers and sellers. And with what you said about invoicing, I mean, that hits another point to where in the past it sounds like there wasn't a specific roadmap from Utrust, and maybe some community members would have liked to have seen that. But I want to emphasize that whenever it comes to serving your customers, such as Utrust has, whenever you're serving them and they have questions, they have needs, like we need an invoicing solution, all of a sudden that rises to the top of priorities, and perhaps maybe a progress on the Hold app or any other initiatives that Utrust has been working on will naturally be put farther along in the timeline. And that's just something that we as participants, who are learning about this technology, we just have to deal with that, because Utrust will always put its customers first. And in doing so, we need to trust and we need to understand that that will bring value to the UTK token. So the invoicing solution came up as a need for Utrust to take care of, and that served the client, that served your customers, and that is going to increase and bolster the name of Utrust. So just a word to everybody out there to maintain just longevity and remember that these are people working diligently to serve and change the world.
You all mentioned that you had $100 million of total transactions move through the Utrust system. What way does Utrust, my question is how does Utrust use those transactions to help fund itself? And how does Utrust make itself operate based just off that 1% fee? I'm curious, how can a 1% fee keep a giant company like yours running? And what other ways is Utrust creating revenue in order to keep the operation going with only charging a 1% flat fee for all merchants?
I mean, I can tackle this one. 1% flat fee doesn't seem too much, but in fact it is. Our structure is much leaner than PayPal, for example. Think that PayPal not only has to deal with chargebacks, has to pay Visa, American Express, MasterCard, or whatever network they use to settle through their network, and obviously has a huge structure that relies on the traditional banking sector. We don't have none of that. I mean, we don't suffer from chargebacks, so that's a huge cost for PayPal. That's why they obviously have to charge a fortune. We don't have to pay Visa or MasterCard networking fees for processing the payments. For example, American Express charges 2% to PayPal. So that PayPal needs to pass that to the user at the end of the day. That's why they charge 3 or 4%. 1% flat, it's obviously something that we thought about a lot. Should we increase? Should we decrease? We done the estimates, and we do believe that surpassing 250 to 300 million euros yearly volume, we become profitable. For now, we are not profitable yet. Obviously, we are a fintech, but the path to profitability is not that difficult in our case with the 1% fee, because obviously we don't have a lot of fees that traditional payment systems have, and that's why they have to charge 3% or 3.5%, because they have to pay a lot of intermediaries to actually settle those payments. I think I summed up things quite well, but Sanja, if you want to add anything, be guest.
No, of course. I think, on top of not having expenses that traditional payment platforms have to sustain so that we can keep our costs lean. And we will always keep our costs lean for the customers because that's, the idea of why Utrust was born. So one of the problems that we solve as well is to drastically reduce payment processing fees. But also, don't forget that we are a crypto business. So there are ways for us to increase our treasury as well with, having our crypto in-house. So that's another revenue stream for us. And I think, long-term with joining the Elrond family, there are multiple products, multiple solutions that, all come into evaluating profitability. And Utrust is one of them. But as Nuno said, we are not profitable yet. We are not so concerned about that because that's normal for any fintech, even not in crypto. We are concerned about scaling fast, being able to really offer a solution to as many customers as possible.
The faster we grow, the faster we become profitable, because there is a clear path to profitability, and we don't actually need to hire hundreds of people. Our system is pretty much flawlessly automated to the point that I think we hire more in compliance now and stuff like that, because the system itself can handle a lot of transactions and a lot of merchants using it and all of that. So it's a question now of getting more and more merchants, and obviously crypto adoption kicking in more on a global perspective. So obviously our volumes will increase, and from there we will become profitable.
Yeah, and we want to keep being an exponential organization. So meaning, keeping our number of people lean. So for the number of volumes we do, we are less than 50 people in the end. So that also helps.
Utrust was built in a way to not only save money for the customers, but it's designed in a way that it's also saving money on the business side for you all to keep things leaner and tighter and able to pass those savings on to the rest of everyone else.
Exactly that.
Wow.
We don't have to deal with the multiple intermediaries that traditional payment gateways need to. That we don't have to deal with chargebacks from cards. I mean, if you put your card numbers online, somebody starts spending with your card, there is a cost there, right? But if you hold your keys, obviously you need to be careful so you don't lose those. But we don't suffer from that specific financial fraud liability. I don't know how it's even like that today. I mean, still putting card numbers that somebody can steal. I mean, it's like it was 40 years ago. Right?
Yeah, between 3, 4 to 12% fees from some of those traditional intermediaries, chargebacks, stolen cards, unrecognizable transactions, and then finally those slow settlement times. These were some of those use cases that I took note of as early as 2017, that technology, specifically like what's provided through Elrond Network, has come along to make that actually possible. So clearly this is going to play a role altogether in UTK 2.0 moving to ESDT, Elrond Standard Digital Token, and specifically the UTK 2.0 economics upgrade, referring as well to the merchant yield, which Nuno, just wrapping up what I'd heard you said in previous interviews, looking at all the fees and all the lost money, all of that profit margin being pinched further and further from merchants, stepping into a ecosystem that Utrust will provide and earning yield and managing their crypto automatically through holding their treasuries and their crypto funds within crypto. It's clear how and why something like merchant yield is really going to take off. So kind of moving specifically into UTK 2.0, probably the very first question that comes to the top of my head after reading through the new economics blog post and so forth, is there's a lot of reference, a lot of mention to a platform, but it's never necessarily specified a Utrust or a Elrond platform. platform, because as we all know, the Maiar DEX has the meta bonding community program to help disperse UTK tokens, as well as meta staking, both liquidity on Maiar DEX as well as UTK tokens. So whenever in this article introducing UTK 2.0, whenever platform is stated, is that referring to some of these Maiar DEX platforms, or is this the present or a coming Utrust platform?
For the merchant yield?
I believe so. It talks about staking, the tiers,
Yeah,
the
no.
different tiers of staking. Is this going to be a specific Utrust platform that will be launched?
Yeah, the front end will be obviously Utrust. The back end, from a technology perspective, we will try obviously to use the DEX. Perhaps we will have to diversify a little bit. It's still not clear, but definitely on a back-end perspective, we will use the DEX capabilities for that. Meaning that, for example, I'll give you an example. If you are a payer and you stake UTKs, whenever you pay through our gateway, we can recognize that staking address belongs to you, and then we will cash back you tokens for that payment. This incentivizes users to use us more. From a merchant perspective, if you hold funds with us, we will obviously generate some sort of yield for you. We are working on that. It won't be crazy numbers, but it will be definitely something that will bring more profitability to the merchant. It will offset the 1% fee they pay and generate some extra percent for them. So think about a merchant that is now using PayPal, and at the end of the day, gets a haircut of 10% with us. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, he gets 5% extra just by holding the funds with Utrust. PayPal already does this, by the way. They use you can see the post I made on my Twitter account. PayPal already uses users' funds to generate yield.
Right. Yeah.
But they keep that yield for themselves. Classic PayPal. We don't want to do that. We want to give to the merchants, because then I do believe it will create a very strong network effect. That the difference between traditional platforms and crypto payment platforms like Utrust will be so big that it will become so obvious for merchants that it will create a snowball effect. But definitely for the staking, etc. capabilities, we will use on a backend level. We will use the DEX for that.
So does that mean that for somebody perhaps providing liquidity and meta staking, through that you will simultaneously earn whichever tier on this?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. We are still defining because there are several types of merchants and risk appetites. Mm-hmm. So this needs to be done in a way that it provides for merchants that have a zero risk appetite a good solution, and for merchants that have some sort of risk appetite a crazier solution. But obviously this is still all in the works. We had before the Elrond acquisition, we were working on something that we scratched away completely. So now we are redoing things, because we think the way we are doing it now is much more sustainable on the long run than what we built before. So we are changing how, from the backend perspective, the merchant yield would operate. But yeah, but I think we will be able to beta test it for the first hundreds of merchants, probably Q1, and Sanja can. I mean, it was going to be Q4, but to be on a safe side, Q1, the first merchants will start beta testing the merchant yield. We will collect data, fine tune everything, then to see if it's ready to push it out to the entire to all of our merchants, obviously.
Yeah, there's a lot that we have in the roadmap. And since you mentioned Maiar before, without anticipating too much, because a lot, will be talked about in Paris at the much anticipated event. We already mentioned to our community that hold will be deprecated. Of course, there will be proper notice given to all of our users on time. so that we can migrate all users to Maiar, so that it makes a lot of sense to have only one app for our ecosystem. And the app, as Nuno said, brings a lot of utility to the users, and Maiar already has winning features that, you know, will make it ideal for what we were talking about before, the next level of adoption of the 1 billion users that we want to come into Web3. And I really think about this idea of like having one app, like one super app. We were chatting before in the break as well about looking at Asia and Asian markets as being much far ahead in some things. So if you look, you know, at China, they were able with their dominant internet companies to develop super apps that we still don't have in the West yet. So, you know, imagine a super app as an app where you can do almost everything, you know, from paying for goods and services, paying your friends, ordering a cab, ordering Uber Eats, and even have like, you know, banking services like taking a loan. So I think, you know, very soon that will be possible to be done in Web3 in a much accelerated way, because a Web3 company allows you to not have that legacy infrastructure that companies like PayPal have, so that we are able to build more efficiently, scale more efficiently, and to be much faster in the go-to-market. So I think, you know, although when you look at WeChat and Alibaba in Asia, those are, let's say, Web2 traditional companies, I think in the West, this game is to be played by Web3 companies that can win this much faster.
And I think you mentioned something interesting, Sanja, about trying to grow Utrust as a company and create this super app. Because I think a super app is a lot of places that people need to start heading, because I think as a community, people really want everything to be in that one place. You don't have to migrate outside. Everything is right where you need it. And I think that's a great step forward with Utrust for pushing that adoption of that super app. What does Utrust have planned? I know a lot of people are anxious about US markets and stuff, but there's regulation, especially with the SEC and stuff, that Utrust would have to conquer. What ways is Utrust trying to push adoption where they currently sit right now? And what ways will Utrust try to push adoption outside of, I know you guys are globally, have merchants globally, but what way are you trying to push into other markets as well?
I mean, go ahead, Sanja, if you want to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can both comment. But I think, you know, the US market is a topic that our community really wants to know about, and of course they want to know. And, you know, the thing I want to say is that we also started building in public because we put the community at the heart center of everything we do. And, you know, that's why we want to be transparent, and that's why we want to get feedback from our community on everything. However, you know, sometimes it doesn't really depend on us, you know, when the timeline can be delivered, because some things are out of our control. So rest assured that US is still at the top of our priorities. There are different ways to penetrate the US market that do not imply getting, you know, a direct license in each state. So there are providers that, you know, offer the opportunity to enter the market with, you know, an infrastructure that it's already being built. So we are considering different solutions, and that's always at the top of our mind. However, you know, there is no timeline for that because of the reasons that I just said. But, you know, rest assured that that's one of the top priorities for the whole of our team. But really, I think, you know, what the community and what everyone should be looking at is, you know, the growth that we are having in terms of total process volume overall, because we are an international company. We process a lot of volumes. We have a lot of merchants. We are, you know, entering new verticals, new markets. So I think, you know, that's what really matters in the end. And sometimes people stick to an idea of, you know, this company is not going to be successful because by Q4 they haven't entered in the US. And it's not about that. You know, it's about being able to offer really a superior solution, a superior customer service, to our customers anywhere internationally. And, you know, Europe, South America, all of these markets, Africa, are not secondary markets at all. On the contrary, you know, there's a lot of need for our solution in emerging markets as well. And if you look at adoption, yes, you know, US is a very fundamental market, but adoption comes from other regions as well, for sure.
Yeah, you said it.
Go ahead, Nuno.
Nothing to add. Nothing to add. Sanja said it all.
Cool. So yeah, clearly Utrust is focused on merchants and increasing that big total transacted volume. So when it comes to serving the smaller guys, I know that in America, services like Cash App, they have the Square point of sale registers. Is this an area that Utrust plans to grow into, or do you see this more as an area that a new startup needs to come along so that the smaller guys that might bring in less revenue with smaller ideas still have ways to access the merchant yield and so forth? And just general thoughts on what Cash App is doing through their application, as well as Square point of sale registers.
That's a great question. First of all, I think that Utrust merchant yield capabilities, everything will be available to anybody from any size. Okay, it's an automatic onboarding process. Everything it's flawlessly working for small or big businesses, or even freelancers. We have freelancers using Utrust, by the way. It's perfectly fine. When it comes to point of sale capabilities, we in 2019, end of 2019, we launched a beta product that was basically an app that you connect to your dashboard, and then you can basically get paid on a point of sale with any device that supports Apple or Android. Basically, you download an app on your iPad, then somebody wants to pay, you put the amount, the widget pops up, the guy pays, then obviously everything is reflected on your dashboard for accounting and settlement purposes. So we had this, but we cannot focus in a million things at the same time. So we decided not to go after point of sale, physical point of sale locations, and not work on that side of the product, because at the end of the day, you look at the transactions in a global world, everything is done online nowadays. People buy more and more stuff online, and it's definitely the vertical where we see people paying more with crypto also, because some blockchains, if you go to a store and you have to pay with Bitcoin, you will have to wait for the confirmation. It's not the best experience ever. With Utrust, we say it's detected, you will receive an email once it's confirmed, you can go, because we already said the funds are on our side, we are just waiting for confirmation. So it's flawless. If you do it on a physical location, it's a tricky one. Obviously, you can do it with eGold, for example, that you can do in a physical location, but definitely not something that we want to pursue now. But for people that want to do business online or through email, they can definitely benefit from Utrust today, and we do think that that's the biggest market for us. And obviously, you have invoicing. You can have a store and use invoicing. We have businesses that have physical stores and they use invoicing to charge their clients, and then the client picks up the car or the house or whatever he bought. But in local point of sale machines, we are 100% focused on online payments via software that does not include any release of hardware or something similar.
Yeah, I think it's also about looking what we said before, like where does the growth come from? So right now, if you look at crypto payments on POS, the percentage is still so small that it wouldn't be viable for us to deliver a product, because we still have a lean team, an exponential team. We want to be focused on what brings growth and profitability in the end. And yeah, as Nuno said, like imagine some of the experience of paying in a POS restaurant with Bitcoin, what that would be. So you would obviously need to restrict either the currencies and explain that to the customers. And realistically, I don't think, we are yet in that phase where customers want to pay for a coffee or a meal with crypto.
Yeah.
And that's like maybe a small percentage of the population that would do that. And we are not saying that we don't want to serve them, but right now it's not priority for us.
I think that makes sense. And Sanja, not to transition everything away, but a couple moments ago, you also mentioned, we don't have to go into too much detail, but you mentioned that Utrust will be at X Day. And I think that's something that a lot of people are looking forward to. Can the community expect to see Nuno and Sanja there, or will the other people from the Utrust team be showing up at X Day?
I will be there. We'll be there.
We'll be there. Other people will be there from our team. Our product team will be there. So anyone coming can chat with us. Lots of news will be released. The next few weeks are quite full for us because we are going to speak at multiple events. So we're going to speak at the Lugano conference, then Web Summit, then Paris. So there's a lot happening in the next few weeks. Stay tuned to our social media as well.
Yeah, I know everyone is very excited for what's to come. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are excited to be at X Day. And I know Steven will be there. So I'm excited for you all to be there and to hear about it afterwards.
It's nice to meet people in person. Obviously, community members as well that I've been chatting on Telegram and on Twitter for years, being able to put the face to the name I've been chatting to. It's great. And I mean, we are really looking forward to the event. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and that, is a good segue before wrapping up here. And then later we'll let Alec go, and then Sanja, Nuno, and I will be showcasing a little demo of using UTK to make a purchase with an X Day ticket. But X Day has talked about, these community parties that will be added in addition to the main conference. So I think it's evident, it's super clear that communities play a huge role in the adoption of cryptocurrency. We're kind of the front lines. And I would love to hear from Utrust, Sanja, and Nuno, kind of what the community at Utrust looks like, how you see the joining of forces with Elrond's community, and specifically with the meta bonding program. It's clear that the democratized token approach is going to be implemented in the future, as well as this buyback and burn mechanism. So there are a lot of metrics, a lot of things that will come in with Utrust being adopted, and we're looking forward to that. But with regard to the community itself, what are some ways that we can really play roles in educating people? What do you see as the most needed areas of education for people to start to actually care to dive into Utrust and Web3 payments?
I think that's, as I mentioned in the beginning of the interview, it's very important for the crypto community, the crypto space, to realize that crypto payments really need to be pushed hard. Because if it doesn't happen, I don't see other things happening after it, to be honest. It's fundamental. It solves a problem. It's in line with the vision of Satoshi. So we really need to be proud when a merchant accepts crypto on chain. We really need to be proud that more crypto payment projects are starting to show up. We need to take pride in the adoption of crypto, like real adoption. And I think that's what our community should focus on. That this is a project that really pushes for adoption. It doesn't push for speculation or get rich quick or whatever. It's actually the core of crypto adoption. And I think our community should definitely support us, and they do support us on that. And I think it's the core that we should look at when we look at Utrust. We are looking at adoption pushers, basically, and trust me, a very difficult job, as Sanja was mentioning, convincing traditional merchants of why to use Utrust or why to accept crypto payments, explaining them that it's cheaper, less riskier, less fraud. Somebody needs to do all of that stuff. So actually crypto is adopted in the real economy, right? And that's what we do on a daily basis. And I think our community, some community members are vocal about it. They also push merchants to use us, recommend us. And I think that's the best help that we can get from our community.
Yeah, and as I said before, I think, real adoption and mass adoption will come when a lot of people, like the next 1 billion people, will perceive more value in using a Web3 service towards a Web2 service. But what I love about Web3 and blockchain and Utrust is, the power of the community. So I think, the community itself is a marketing channel, because we have people that have been with us since the beginning, are very passionate about what we do. And because of that, they contribute to really amplifying our message. They bring in more users. They contribute to educating more people. They even, translate things, in other languages, in other countries. They recommend us to merchants. So I think, community really plays a key role in the education part that we cannot do ourselves, because even though we are committed to that, we need our community to amplify the message. And our community means, Utrust and Elrond community together. So definitely, mass adoption will come when the next wave of people will perceive like, oh, I really have an issue that can be better solved with Web3. Because sometimes people don't even know that they have a problem, because they don't know about an alternative.
Yes.
When they discover it, that's when the magic happens.
Well, judging by this week's Twitter reactions, I could say that the community is excited. We're excited. So looking forward, what can we hope? What can we expect from Utrust in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now? What do you all hope to see, or where do you all hope to see Utrust at in those kind of timeframes? And can you just give us a little bit of a gaze into the future of what you'd like to see Utrust become?
Sure. I mean, first of all, I'm super laser focused now on the product releases that are coming in the next months and obviously next year, that can be seen on our public roadmap. I do believe that our product will become much stronger, much appealing, much better. And the goal is to, I actually talk with Sanja a lot about this, in 5 to 10 years to be #1 in the world when it comes to crypto payments. Can be done sooner with a little bit of luck, always necessary. But ideally in 10 years for crypto payments to surpass traditional payments volumes, and for us to be somewhere there, right? Inflation not looking good, economies are all looking very, very, very shaky. Fiat currencies, what will happen to them, nobody knows, but you can look at Turkey and other countries, what happened to their currencies. People are escaping inflation by seeking protection in the crypto world, and this might become a very significant pattern in even super developed countries, right? It can happen all over the world. If inflation keeps going like this, people will have to buy Bitcoin, this and that, and then obviously they will have to have rails to make their day-to-day payments, and that's exactly what Utrust provides, right? Allowing them to like they do with fiat, allowing them to do the same with crypto in a seamless way, obviously much cheaper, faster, and safer. That's what I would like, obviously, to see Utrust. And I mean, we are less far from there than we were years ago. So so far so good. Let's see how it evolves in the next years.
For sure. So I think, in the short term, which for me, short term, it's like, let's say 2-3 years. The focus is really on bringing the next layer of new users together with Elrond, making sure our payment experience is as seamless as possible. It already is, but making it as easy as possible for people to use it, to transact with it. So it's all about adoption. And I think, as I said before, right now it's totally different than it was in 2018, 19. So I do believe that the next 2-3 years will be, that layer of adoption that we're all looking for, and Utrust and Elrond will play a fundamental role in that. And I think, in the long term, our vision is very much aligned with Elrond. I don't think that there's any separation between the two. And in that sense, it's all about building that new financial system that is high bandwidth, low latency, that is transparent, that it's available to everyone and anywhere with like a really easy access to it. Because we always forget that 2 billion people in the world are unbanked or underbanked, not only in emerging markets. So, finally, we have the technological means for these people to really come and participate in global trade. And even that requires, a lot of education for those people to realize and come. So I think, in bottom line is, in 10 years and long term, it's about building a new financial system, building something different that will totally replace legacy system and traditional Web 2.
Wow. Great way to kind of end us off there. I know I'm excited for Utrust to continue to build, and I've said it many times on Twitter, and I'll say it again, emphasizing the fact that Utrust and Elrond are two completely separate teams. So lots of firepower that is focused in on some main focuses, and I'm excited to see how those continue to bolster and kind of springboard off of one another. So kind of wrapping up here, Sanja and Nuno, are there any final messages that you'd like to leave with either the Utrust community that's been here over the years, or some of the new guys and gals that have joined the community through Elrond's acquisition?
I think I would like to say that I'm very happy with the state of our community. It grew a lot. A lot of smart people came from Elrond to support us, and that's amazing. I'm always on Telegram or on Twitter, so I usually talk there with the community. If anybody has questions or ideas, I love to engage. Yeah, and we have a lot of work to do. Hopefully, we will deliver the things we have planned on time. Yeah, I really think that crypto is in a phase now that is getting serious. And hopefully we will all benefit from this, and obviously Utrust as well in the top of the adoption scope to push things forward.
Yeah, my message is similar. It's really, get in touch. If you have ideas, if you have feedback, we are always there to listen. We're very open to that. If you want to, bring in suggestions, and you never know, we even, hired some people coming from community recommendations or from communities. So we really value when people are passionate about Utrust. We recently hired some people in the team who participated in the ICO, and now they play a fundamental role in our team, in our direct team. So, we're always here, very grateful to have this amazing community, and always here to listen. So please do send feedback and suggestions.
Love
Awesome.
that. Alec, any final words?
No, I'm just very thankful for you all to find the time to be able to speak with us on our platform. I greatly appreciate it. Stephen greatly appreciates it as well. We are super excited to have you here, and just thank you for giving us the time of the day.
Oh, thank you. That was super fun.
Yeah. Yeah. As Alec just said, very thankful for the time that you two were able to give Podcast Elrond on behalf of Utrust, and on behalf of the entire, Elrond community. I definitely want to welcome each of you, as well as Utrust and the whole community, into the Elrond family. And I'm personally looking forward to continue to add value through education, through raising awareness on what all of these different family members are bringing to the table.
Super cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
Well, with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for watching. This has
Thank you all.
been the podcast Elrond Utrust special. As we said at the beginning of the video, Utrust has been kind enough to put up 10,000 UTK. So be sure to stay tuned on our social medias. Follow Utrust, follow Sanja and Nuno, as well as Alec. Get involved, ask questions, get excited, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Peace
Bye.
out.
Bye.